a very clean front part of the lane due to this is terrible. Hey team, and thanks for tuning into the channel. Today we're talking about the two newest releases in the Radical lineup, the Hitter and the Deadly Rattler. Specifically, we're going to do some bonus coverage where I'm going to review the comparison chart that you can find on the website. But first, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. Starting with the Pinel Scholarship Tournament that was held this past weekend in Mechanicsburg, PA. I want to acknowledge and thank everyone that was able to go out and join them for that tournament. I wasn't able to be there in person. It's a little hard for me to get out to the East Coast sometimes, but I promise that I'll try to be there as often as I can. Pinel made me the person I am today in the bowling industry, and I'm forever grateful, and I miss him dearly. This will have been the third annual tournament that they ran, and I want to remind everyone, whether you made it or not out to the tournament, that all the proceeds for that tournament and anytime you donate on Bowl for Life, that goes to youth bowling in memory of Pinel. So it's not too late to donate. Go to bowlforlife.com, that's bowl, the letter 4, life.com. Click on the donate tab, and then in the checkout, you have the ability to comment. Just comment Pinel Memorial Scholarship in the text box, and that'll go toward youth bowlers in the memory of Pinel. Next up, I want to remind you that Radical does the Radical Rundown every Monday on their YouTube and Facebook page. Make sure to check out the latest one where I do an in-depth analysis and explanation of how the hitter core fits in with the current asymmetrical core lineup and how it is kind of an advanced version of the previous Outer Limits core, what was different about it, and why this core is a little different even though it has similar numbers. So full rundown on the Radical Rundown. That is the technical overview for the hitter. Check that video out. And now we're going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to call bonus coverage, because I'm not doing a full video. All the information you need about the core is over on Radical's Facebook page. So we're just going to talk here about the comparison chart that you can find by going to radicalbowling.com, click on the latest release, and then scroll down to the resources tab. There you'll find a download link for the comparison chart, and it'll bring up a PDF of this exact chart. So by now you guys are pretty familiar with this chart. That's sorted by oil volume, with the strongest and heaviest oil balls on the right side of the chart down to the cleanest and weakest balls for lighter oil on the left side of the chart. And on the y-axis they're sorted by motion potential, with the sharpest responding balls toward the top of the chart and the smoothest responding balls toward the bottom of it. The brand new Radical Hitter is built to handle just a little more fresh oil than a similarly drilled Outer Limits, and sits just a little further right on the chart. It's a little further up on the chart because its response to friction is a little greater. I wouldn't necessarily call it a sharper motion than the Outer Limits, which is why 2D charts don't perfectly tell the whole story, but rather I would say that this ball is earlier in the mid lane because it revs up a little faster, but it's also a little more continuous and a little more hard charging from the mid lane to the pins, where the Radical Outer Limits, which floats just a little easier through the front part of the lane due to the HK cover base that is a little different than the one on the hitter, is a little cleaner through the front part of the lane with just a more arcing response to friction. Still responds really well to friction and most of the responses at the back of the lane as well, but in a more arcing, more controlled manner. So maybe good for a second ball out of your bag for opening up the conditions once the mid lane has opened up a little bit for you and you see a little more friction. And the Outer Limits is also good for stepping in and sending it away when you need a little more control on medium volumes. But the hitter, this could be your first ball out of your bag with more square angles, or when you have just a little more front head oil overall and you need the ball to slow down in the mid lane but still continue really well off the back of the lane. When you don't want a ball that reads super early and super diggy and get too rolly off the pattern, a ball like the Innovator Solid, for example, then the hitter is going to be the perfect ball for you. Interestingly, the hitter and the Outer Limits share very similar pre-drilled core numbers, but the after-drilling numbers are a little bit different and the core shape is quite a bit different. So even though these balls sit very close in terms of the core numbers pre-drilled, the after-drilling numbers and the core shape are dictating the ball motion, and these are two pretty unique and different shapes. Are they different enough to have in the same bag? I think the answer is yes. If you have a 3-ball league bag, you probably want a little more diversity. But if you have a 6-ball arsenal, then I could see you easily carrying a hitter for fresher conditions and an outer limits as a step down from the hitter. Moving over now to Deadly Rattler, built to handle a medium light amount of oil volume and is a relatively sharp ball for considering the fact that it has lower differential overall and is symmetrical. I wouldn't characterize it as sharp relative to all of the balls in the lineup, but relative to a low diff symmetrical ball, this ball certainly moves at the back of the lane. You can tell that it's a step sharper than its original counterpart, the Rattler, which was built for a little more medium conditions and a little more square play with a little more fresh medium oil. Of course, that's going to be a natural step down into the Deadly Rattler. As soon as the original Rattler gets a little too slow when you start to open up the launch angles and the ball is either digging a little early and getting a little lazy off of the spot, or if the ball is simply just not making it up the hill when you open your launch angle up as the mid lane starts to build friction. Sometimes these lower differential sanded solid balls, they're really good on fresh when there's free friction to the right, but as soon as the heads go, then they tend to get a little smooth to use with open launch angles. And that's where the Deadly Rattler picks up and is so good. So that's all I've got for you today on the Hitter and the Deadly Rattler. Just as a quick recap for all the things we talked about, you can go to bowlforlife.com and donate scholarship money for youth bowling in memory of Mo Pinel. Make sure you go to Radical Bowling's Facebook or YouTube page where you can get all the information on the new Advanced Hitter Core. And of course you can go to radicalbowling.com, click on any of the bowling balls, and you can find the archived ball comparison charts at the very bottom of the page under the Resources tab where there's a download link for the ball comparison charts. Thanks for watching, and don't forget that I'll be making new releases as new cores come out for all of the brands of Brunswick. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.